Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing, testing. Okay, rasanya semua dah boleh dengar. Saya dah test sound tadi. So kita, di live. Okay. Now already 12:15 p.m. So I just make this live stream for another Declassify Malaysia episode. But the title is mostly on the Federation of Malaya. What we want to ask is, the Federation of Malaya never been colonized. So here we will show the fact and try to unravel all the documents, the constitutional documents relating with the formation of the Federation of Malaya. Does Federation of Malaya colonized by the British or not? Because this topic has been get into the news last time by some of the professor. He said that Federation of Malaya have never been colonized. And everybody go by the storm talking about that one. They said, this fact and fiction is everything mixed together. So today I will tell you what is the answer for this question. So in this live stream, I will use English because all the document is written in English. Do you know why our politician tell us to not use English? They said, this is a colonial mindset. Don't use English. They don't want they don't want us to use English because they don't want us to understand our rights in the formation of Malaysia and in the formation of the Federation of Malaya. Because all the document is in English. If you don't know English language, you will not understand anything about the formation of Federation of Malaya, and you will not understand your rights in the Constitution. You see, our politicians, they don't want us to understand the Constitution. So let us go right now. I have one of my friend maybe join in the studio later on, but I will just proceed. So the first framer intention that we want to derive back into the past is we go to the House of Commons debate on 12th July 1957. On this day, on 12th July 1957, the British make a bill in their House of Commons, in their parliament. The name of that bill is Federation of Malaya Independence Bill. So what the text that I want to show you here is the speech given by the Mr. Alan Lennox Beard. He is the Secretary of State for the Colonies of the British in 1957. So we have a British minister explain about Federation of Malaya Independence Bill so that we all can understand how Federation of Malaya has been formed in 1957. So first, we go to look into this document. This document is written in English. You see, if you don't know English language, you will not understand how the formation of Federation of Malaya is actually formed. So this is what he said. I take a section by section, that the important part from the long speech that he gave in House of Commons at that time. So this is what he said. This bill, which is the Federation of Malaya Independence Bill 1957, seek to enable provision to be made for the establishment of the Federation of Malaya as an independent sovereign country within the Commonwealth. So, tujuan dia, pembentukan Persekutuan Tanah Melayu 1957 tu, tujuan dia ialah untuk membentuk Federation Persekutuan Tanah Melayu yang merdeka, independen, sovereign dan berdaulat. Yang merdeka dan berdaulat di dalam Commonwealth. Ini keywords dia. Tujuan bil ini untuk membentuk Persekutuan Tanah Melayu yang merdeka dan berdaulat di dalam Commonwealth. We have had a long and honorable association together, and this association will continue in the future, talk in a new form. So, British dengan Federation of Malaya ni, dia ada association. Macam mana association dia? Dia terangkan seterusnya. Lepas tu, Mr. Allen ni dia cakap, our relation, British relation with Malaya have been based on agreements and treaties. So, hubungan antara British dengan Persekutuan Tanah Melayu, dengan negeri-negeri Tanah Melayu, semua berdasarkan agreement, berdasarkan perjanjian. Our power and jurisdiction were acquired by treaty and must be ended by treaty. So, ni cara British. Yang first tadi dia cakap, our power and jurisdiction. Maksudnya, kuasa yang British ada pada negeri-negeri Tanah Melayu, mereka dapat melalui perjanjian. So, our power and jurisdiction. Tapi dia tak cakap sini, our sovereignty. Dia cakap our power and jurisdiction. Maksudnya ada power yang British ada terhadap negeri-negeri Tanah Melayu yang mereka dapat berdasarkan perjanjian dengan negeri-negeri Tanah Melayu. So, macam ni lah British, this is how the British come to the Malay States. They come with agreement and then they want to end their presence in the Malay State, in the wall of Federation of Malaya by treaty also. Took out the world, took out the British colonies. However the British come, if they come by treaty, they will end it with treaty also. If they come with the commission to the certain colonies, they will end it with the commission also. If they come with the order in council, when they colonize certain country, they will end it with the order in council also. But in case of Federation of Malaya, they come to the Malay State based on agreement, based on treaty, and the honorable thing to do is to end it also with the treaty. This is how British do the decolonization process. It is how they come. You must understand how they come, and that is also how they will end it. And then this is what, and then he continue. Our earliest settlement in Malaya, except for Malacca, were established by consent of the ruler concerned. And the spread of British protection throughout the peninsula towards the end of the 19th century was effected by treaty and not by conquest. So, hubungan antara British dengan negeri-negeri Tanah Melayu itu, they get it based on the consent of the ruler. It is affected by treaty between the rulers and the British government, not by conquest. Dapat dah. You get the signal there. So the British never conquest, never colonize by force the state that is under the rulers. There is 9 rulers in Federation of Malaya today. All of these states under the rulers is under British protection based on the treaty that they made with the rulers. So the relationship here between the British and the Malay states is made based on the agreement, based on the treaty. And based on that treaty, British give their protection for the Malay states. So the Malay state is under British protection, not British colonies. Because very clear, Mr. Allen here, the minister of the British, said in the House of Commons, in the Parliament, that they come to Malaya, except for Malacca, Penang, and Singapore, they not come by conquest. And then he continued, he said, he give a little bit of history lesson here, to have a brief lesson on how the British come to Malaya. He said the first British settlement in Malaya was the trading port of Penang, established by Francis Light for the East India Company in 1786 and confirmed as British possession in 1800 by the Sultan of Kedah, grandfather of Tunku Abdul Rahman today. So, British settlement, Penang, is British possession, which means Penang, specifically Penang, British settlement is British colony. Penang is British colony. And then he said, then came Malacca, which was at length after various toings and forings conceded to Great Britain by the Dutch in 1824. So, conceded to Great Britain, Malacca also British colony. So we have two now. Penang and Malacca is British colony. Confirmed British colony. Meanwhile, in 1819, through the inspired leadership of Stamford Raffles, the almost uninhabitable island of Singapore became, with the consent of the Sultan of Johor, a British settlement. These then are the British settlements. So, Singapore, also British settlement, which means British colonies. The British have this settlement acts that confirm that anybody, any area that is a British settlement is a British colonies. So we have Penang, British settlement, which is, so Penang is British colony. Malacca, British settlement, so Malacca is British colonies. Singapore is British settlement, so Singapore is British colonies. So three of these settlement is British colony. So it's confirmed that three of these settlement is British colonies. Now he continue. This I just saw the figure here to make it very clear, very clear. These then are the British settlements. This is what Mr. Allen said in the British Parliament. Penang, Malacca, and Singapore is British settlements, which means Penang, Malacca, and Singapore is British colony. He said during the next 50 years, British control in Malaya remained confined to these three strait settlements. So British control, all his 100% control is in Penang, Malacca, and Singapore. Confirmed British colony. And then, now we go to the Malay States. Just now we talk about British settlements. Now we talk about Malay States. Mr. Allen continue. In the 70s of the last century, British influence was spread throughout the peninsula by treaties with the rulers of the various states. So there is 9 states in the Peninsula Malaysia. British influence is based on treaties, not by conquest. In 1896, the 4 states of Selangor, Negeri Sembilan, Perak, and Pahang came together as the Federated Malay States, based on treaties with the British. Treaty between the British and the Malay rulers. not by conquest. They not colonize this Federated Malay State. They come based on the treaties. And then the state of Kedah, Perlis, Kelantan, Terengganu, and Johor remain outside of the federation, which is remain outside of the Federated Malay State, but accepted a British advisor, who over the generation have given such sterling service. So all the unfederated Malay State, which is Kedah, Perlis, Kelantan, Terengganu, and Johor, 5 of these other states, they accept British advisor based on treaties. Okay, Iwan, how are you?
Good. Great. Thank you to invite me, Dok. Okay, I'm here to listen also. Mau dengar juga daripada Dok.
Yeah, I just proceed just now.
Okay, just proceed.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you mute speaker? Your speaker, maybe. Okay. Okay. Okay, I will continue. That is Iwan Idris just now. He will be with me discuss about this facts on the formation of the Federation of Malaya. Either they have been colonized or not. So I will continue. So all of these 9 states, which is Federated Malay State and Unfederated Malay State, however, were quite separate from the Strait settlement and have never at any time been British colonies, has been British territory. I hope that all who do not realize that fact will ponder a little on the history of the last 80 years. So it is confirmed by the British minister, Mr. Alan Lennox Burt. It is confirmed here that all of these 9 states has never been the British territory. So all these Malay states, different from the Strait settlements, they are not the British territory, so they are not British colonies. So based on what I saw just now, it shows that the British colonies is the settlements of Penang, Malacca, and Singapore. Confirm. That is 3 settlement is British colonies. However, the sovereign and independent state, the keywords here is but not within the Commonwealth, is the Federated Malay States, Selangor, Negeri Sembilan, Perak, and Pahang, and Kedah, Perlis, Kelantan, Terengganu, and Johor. So all of these Federated Malay State and Unfederated Malay State, based on what Mr. Allen said in the parliament, is not colonies. This state is a sovereign, berdaulat. The king, the rulers in the Malay state, they remain sovereign. So the territories and sovereignty and independence come hand to hand. So if this Malay state is remain sovereign, that means they are remain independent, but not within the Commonwealth, because they are under British protection. So this is how actually what happened from how from the British colonized the British came to Malaya, and in the end there is a new independence Federation of Malaya in 1957. So the purpose is in 1957 is to make a new federation, which is a Federation of Malaya 1957, as a sovereign and independent state within the Commonwealth. The Malay states, 9 Malay states before 1957, is also sovereign and independent, but not within the Commonwealth. And they are the jurisdiction between all of these Malay state, Federated Malay State, Unfederated Malay State, and Strait settlement is different. Strait settlement is under British colonies, Federated Malay State, they have an unfederated Malay State. They have advisor from the British, appointed advisor. The British came based on the agreement, not by conquest. So, Mr. Allen continued. He said that the bill which I am presenting today does not itself grant self-government to Malaya. So, the bill, the Federation of Malaya 1957 bill, is not granting self-government to Malaya. It is just because the federated Malay State and unfederated Malay State is never been colonized. So of course they will not grant self-government to this state, to these Malay states, these 9 Malay states, because they never been colonized by the British. So it is confirmed again by this Mr. Allen. He said this bill does not grant self-government to Malaya, but it enables Her Majesty to enter into an agreement to establish an independent Federation of Malaya. So tujuan Federation of Malaya 1957 is to make another new agreement, because the British come with agreement. When they come to Malaya, they want to end it with agreement. So when they want to end this agreement, they make a Federation of Malaya Independent Act 1957. This agreement is to establish a new independent Federation of Malaya, a new one, because the previous one is Federated Malay State. They have their own association. Unfederated Malay State is different. They live by their own, one by one. And then state settlement is under British colonies. The purpose of Federation of Malaya 1957 is to create a new federation of this settlement and Malay State, a new independent state, which is a Federation of Malaya. So that this Federation of Malaya will be a new independent country within the Commonwealth. That is the difference. The previous one is not under the Commonwealth. This is the new independent federation based on this 9 state of Federation Malay State and 2 of the settlement, and then it become a new federation, new country. When you create new country, of course that new country has never been colonized. So this new country is the Federation of Malaya 1957, and then it become independent under the Commonwealth. That blue flag there, that is the flag of the Commonwealth. So this is continue. Mr. Allen said. He said that the grant of independence to the Federation, which is Federation of Malaya, present special constitutional problems and requirements. The present authority of Her Majesty government in the United Kingdom in Malaya derives from these 3 sources. It derives first from the agreement between Her Majesty the Queen and the rulers, from the agreement between Her Majesty the Queen and the rulers of each of the 9 Malay states, by virtue of which these states are under Her Majesty protection. Secondly, it derives from the sovereignty of Her Majesty over the settlements of Penang and Malacca, from the sovereignty of Her Majesty over the settlement of Penang and Malacca, and thirdly, from the constitution of the present federation contained in the agreement made in 1948 between His late Majesty and all the rulers jointly. So I summarize it here. The issue that the British want to address when they want to make a Federation of Malaya Independent Act 1957 in their parliament in 31st July 1957, this is the issue that they want to incorporate. They want to solve in that Act of Independence of Federation of Malaya 1957. The first issue is they want to address the agreement between Her Majesty the Queen and the rulers of each of the 9 Malay states, which is under British protection, not British colony. And second, sovereignty of Her Majesty. Clearly, dia cakap sovereignty of Her Majesty. Kalau kedaulatan is under the British, that means these colonies. Sovereignty of Her Majesty over the settlements of Penang and Malacca, which is our British colonies. That is another issue. The first one is agreement, not sovereignty of Her Majesty over the Malay State, but the agreement of Her Majesty the Queen and the ruler of each of the 9 Malay States under British protection. British never colonized this 9 Malay States. Similar with Sarawak, before British colonized it in 1946 under the British Raja, starting from Charles Brooke. It is under British protection. That's why we always in Sarawak said Sarawak is independent under the Brooke, because we are only under the British protection based on the agreement in 1888 between Sarawak and British. British only colonized Sarawak through session in 1946. So under the Brooke, Sarawak is independent under British protection. And similar here with the case of 9 Malay states. There is agreement between this Malay state, the rulers of Malay state, with the British, which is to put this Malay state under the protection of the British, so that the British can protect the sovereignty and independence of this 9 Malay state. And the second issue that British want to solve here is just now is the sovereignty of Her Majesty over the settlement. Settlement of Penang and Malacca is confirmed British colony. If it are settlement, it is confirmed British colony. British have this Act of Parliament, Settlement Acts, that confirm any territories within this settlement is British colonies. And the third is about the constitution. So what we want to go here is number 1 and number 2 only, the issue here. Okay, and then Mr. Allen continue. He said the grant of independence requires that a new agreement should be made between Her Majesty and the Malayan rulers, withdrawing Her Majesty protection and jurisdiction, and agreeing to establish an independent federation. So the grant of independence, the Federation of Malaya Independent Act 1957 too, the purpose is to make a new agreement to end the British presence in 9 Malay states just now, where the British withdraw their protection and jurisdiction from the Malay state. The British doesn't say they want to withdraw their sovereignty, because they never take the sovereignty from this Malay state. They just withdraw their protection and jurisdiction. Withdraw their protection, which means agreement just now. They want to withdraw from that agreement, to terminate that agreement, to become a protecting power over the Malay state, and all the jurisdiction based on that agreement. That is what the British want to terminate based on this grant of independence. They doesn't terminate the sovereignty, because they never get the sovereignty from this 9 Malay state, because they never colonized this 9 Malay state. And then he said, I said that the authority of the United Kingdom government derives secondly from Her Majesty's sovereignty over the settlement. So this is another one. When the British talk about settlement, they want to withdraw their sovereignty, because they colonized Penang and Malacca just now. So they want to withdraw their sovereignty. So the territories that actually become independent from the British is actually Malacca and Penang only. So this bill provides for the relinquishment of Her Majesty's sovereignty over Penang and Malacca. So that bill, the Federation of Malaya Independent Act 1957, it is relinquished and terminate British sovereignty over Penang and Malacca only. Because this settlement is the one that become British colonies. Only 2 of the settlement withdraw from becoming British colonies. Needless to say, in an independent Malaya, there will be, as the rest of Malaya will be, within the Commonwealth. So this is another purpose of the new Federation of Malaya 1957 that they want to establish based on that Act of Parliament, is to make a new Federation of Malaya 1957 to become independent and sovereign within the Commonwealth. So they will no longer under British protection, and then they will become independent, standing by their own within the Commonwealth. Okay, now we look at the document itself. All of this issue just now, all of this issue, British address it and they put it into the Federation of Malaya Independent Act 1957. So this is constitutional document, legal document. All the lawyer in the world, all the constitutionalists, everybody refer to this agreement. So don't tell me I refer to British document. All your lawyer, all your friend, all your parliamentarian refer to this document. That is their job to refer to this document. So in this document, what we need to look is in section 1, clause 2. For this issue, either Federation of Malaya have been colonized or not. We look at the section 1, clause 2. So in this section 1, clause 2, they have two parts, A and B. So it said any such agreement as aforesaid may make provision. A, for the formation of the Malay State and of the settlement of Penang and Malacca into a new independent federation of states. So first, this Act of Parliament, they form a new federation, independent federation between the Malay States, 9 Malay States, and the settlement of Penang and Malacca. So this new independent federation of states, which is Federation of Malaya 1957, is under a federal constitution specified in the agreement. And for the application to the settlements as states of the new federation. So the settlement just now, British colonies, once the Federation of Malaya formed, it become a new state. So the one that become decolonized from the British is only the settlement. And then B, this is the answer for that question just now. For all the whole topic here is section 1, 2B of Federation of Malaya Independent Act 1957. It said for the termination of Her Majesty's sovereignty and jurisdiction in respect of the said settlement. Sovereignty and jurisdiction terminate. British terminate their sovereignty and jurisdiction and give it back to the said settlement only. And then, and for all other her power and jurisdiction in and in respect of the Malay States. And in respect of the Malay State, only power and jurisdiction. British doesn't terminate their sovereignty over Malay State because they never have sovereignty over the Malay State. They just terminate their power and jurisdiction only. This is section 1, 2B. The answer is in this legal document, constitutional document in Federation of Malaya Independent Act 1957 in section 1, 2B. So in section 1, 2B, what it said here, two information. First information is termination of Her Majesty sovereignty and jurisdiction in respect of the said settlement. So the one that become decolonized from the British is only Penang and Malacca settlement. British terminate their sovereignty. Sovereignty is very important. If you don't have your sovereignty, you are British colony. So that said settlement, British terminate their sovereignty over Penang and Malacca. That settlement is the one that merdeka. Only Penang and Malacca merdeka. And second, and of all other her power and jurisdiction in and in respect of the Malay State. In the document said, her power and jurisdiction only based on the agreement just now made between the British and the Malay rulers. The British have the power have the power and jurisdiction based on that agreement, specific agreement between British and Selangor, British and Kelantan, specific agreement with all of the 9 Malay rulers. They have their own agreement with all of these 9 Malay states. So British have power based on that agreement. British have their agreement with Johor, agreement with Negeri Sembilan, agreement with Kedah, agreement with Perlis. So this is specific agreement with each of the rulers. So the British only terminate their power based on that agreement. They never colonize these 9 Malay states. So that's why in this Federation of Malaya 1957 Independent Act, they never terminate the sovereignty because they never colonized these 9 Malay states. I think that's answer all of the question on the either the Federation of Malaya have been colonized or not. The one that has been colonized is only Malacca and Penang. And the one that never been colonized is the 9 Malay states. So that is very clear in section 1 2B of the Federation of Malaya Agreement 1957. So that's why Johor never celebrate Merdeka Day because Johor has never colonized by the British. Because Johor, the rulers of Johor, know this agreement. They know that they have never been colonized by the British because they only terminate the Johor agreement with the British and end the British power and jurisdiction, not end the British sovereignty over Johor because British never take the sovereignty from the Johor rulers. The sovereignty of the 9 Malay rulers is with the 9 Malay state is with the Malay rulers. They never been terminated with that jurisdiction as a sovereign ruler of each of the state. So that's why the Johor government never celebrate Merdeka Day. But Merdeka Day as a whole of Federation of Malaysia, yes. Because we form a new independent Federation of Malaya 1957. That is the new, actually is the establishment of the new independent country, which is called Federation of Malaya 1957. But it must be understood that the settlement of Penang and Malacca is the colonies and the 9 Malay states is not British colonies. So that is your answer. Okay, Iwan. Okay tak? Oh, tak dengar.
Yes, okay. Baik. Okay, dengar. Okay, saya pun baru belajar ni. Jadi saya pun macam yang Dok tahu, saya ni cumalah kamera guy, minat buat video, kan, tahu-tahu sikit. Jadi saya pun bila dapat kenal Dr. Zul ni banyak belajar. Pandai cari dokumen memang pandai, tapi mau dapat penjelasan tu, yang ini baru saya nampak yang lebih jelas. So sangat clear, memang tanah Melayu tidak pernah dijajah. Jadi macam bila kita tengok banyak influencer, YouTuber, TikToker cerita pasal tanah dijajah ni on paper lagi disebutkan. Itu on paper saja kan. So jadi macam yang I think they need to do their own research juga, and then have to accept the fact yang this is the new generation yang kita tak akan terima bulat-bulat apa orang cakap.
Betul.
Habis.
Sebab buku sejarah yang sekolah menengah tu, dia bertopengkan politik. Dia nak tunjuk
Iya.
parti-parti politik yang kononnya memperjuangkan kemerdekaan tanah Melayu. Dia nak tunjukkan parti itu yang berjuang untuk kemerdekaan tanah Melayu. Sebenarnya yang memperjuangkan kemerdekaan tanah Melayu, yang seal the agreement tu, is the Malay rulers.
Yes.
Malay rulers tu yang sign kan perjanjian Persekutuan Tanah Melayu tu semua. Yang betul-betul membentuk Persekutuan Tanah Melayu yang kita tahu 1947 tu.
So at least kenapa di Malaysia ni kita susah mau dapat ni dokumen perjanjian 48, dokumen 57 ni. Kenapa ya?
Itulah persoalan dia. Bila saya cari pun susah betul. Yang jumpa pun macam kena print screen gambar-gambar dia. Bukan dokumen yang PDF file apa semua. Sebab mereka nak sembunyikan apa yang ditulis ni. Sebab apa yang ditulis dalam Federation of Malaya Independent Act 1957 tu, benda yang ditulis tu sama dengan agreement tu. Agreement tu ditulis pada March. Based on that agreement antara British dengan Malaya dengan Malay rulers, baru Independent Acts ni British luluskan. Kalau tak ada agreement tu, British takkan luluskan. Agreement tu menunjukkan Sultan Sultan yang bertanggungjawab dengan pembentukan Persekutuan Tanah Melayu. Tapi dalam buku sejarah dia cakap kami ahli politik yang jadi hero. Sebenarnya hero yang sebenar Sultan dan Raja Melayu 9 negeri-negeri Tanah Melayu tersebut. Itu yang mereka nak sembunyi. Ni ada perang sikit antara ahli politik bangsawan ni dengan Sultan.
Ya, tapi dia sekarang ada berita buruk lah. Berita buruk dia adalah saya ni melahirkan aktivis. Kan saya ramai juga tahu yang saya sudah melahirkan aktivis. Saya cakap aktivis ni bukan mau ada NGO khusus. Kau bergerak je lah sendiri. Jadi ramai orang sudah mula yang independently faham ini tanggungjawab sosial siapa ni. Kan tidak perlu mau ada pangkat lah baru mau bercakap. So the bad news yang saya mau share adalah sekarang saya sudah buat bootcamp, Dok. So dalam bootcamp ni memang kita bongkar semua dokumen, and then berita buruk yang sangat-sangat buruk ni sebenarnya adalah kita ada dokumen 48 dengan 57 tu yang tidak pernah dipindah, dan dokumen ni kita bagi kepada peserta bootcamp. Jadi kita punya aktivis DNA ni dia bukan setakat tahu MA 63. dia ada dokumen 48, lepas tu ada surat rahsia 56 dengan yang itu public lah, dengan yang dokumen 57. Itu pun saya accidentally jumpa. So maybe I will share with you the document, so then kita boleh bertukar-tukar lagi kita punya maklumat. And I really learn a lot daripada doktor lah punya explanation about the sovereignty, jurisdiction. Kadang-kadang saya ni kenapa saya cakap Melayu, sebab saya tahu paling bermasalah dengan masalah pembentukan Malaysia ni adalah orang yang bercakap dan mendengar bahasa Melayu. Sedangkan dokumen ni semua dalam bahasa Inggeris, kan? Jadi so that's why I choose to talk.
Waktu mereka cakap, mereka buat propaganda, bahasa Inggeris tu bahasa penjajah. Sebab ahli politik tak mahu kita belajar benda ni. So
betul.
Semua dokumen tu bahasa Inggeris untuk kita faham hak kita dalam perlembagaan, macam mana hak kita tu ada dalam perlembagaan. Semua dokumen yang berkaitan kita panggil framer punya framework tu, daripada Hansard, daripada discussion, minute meeting yang dulu-dulu tu, hak kita tu tertulis dekat itu dalam bahasa Inggeris. Orang politik sekarang dia tak mahu kita tahu. Sebab tu dia cakap, bahasa Inggeris tu bahasa penjajah, supaya kita tak belajar bahasa Inggeris, kita tak tahu bahasa Inggeris, tak tahulah kita hak kita tu. Tu play dia, game dia situ.
Itulah tu. Tapi yang penting 29 Julai kita mau jumpa Dr. Zul di Kedamaian, betul kan? InsyaAllah.
Tu pun very mobile, bergerak sana sini.
Okay. No worries. Kami support jadi tukang angkat bendera. Dr. Zul. Okay, sudah tu.
Target bagian je.
Alright. So I have no question. So far I'm happy with this presentation, and I would share with you the document later. So maybe akan ada section part 2 kan ni?
Tak ada part 2. Saya dah masuk kantus ni. Ini part 2 dia.
Okay.
Federation of Malaya Agreement ni. Tadi saya tulis sampai sini je. Tapi ada masa 15 minit, 20 minit sempat lagi buat.
Okay. So nanti saya akan rewatch balik untuk go for the details, and it really help. Thank you very very much kepada orang macam saya ni. Kalau tiada Dr. Zul, apalah yang kami perjuangkan?
Tak adalah, sama-sama aja kita ni. Yang berminat dengan benda-benda ni, ahli akademik macam kita ni. Yang ahli politik dia minat sangat. Mungkin dia ada benda lain ke apakah, terpulanglah dengan mereka. Tapi yang mostly yang interested macam Iwan lah apa semua yang ahli-ahli akademik ni memang berminat benda-benda macam ni. Kamulah yang lebih pandai sebenarnya.
So kita buat kerja memandaikan rakyat lah sekarang.
Sama-sama memandaikan semua sendiri, insyaAllah.
Mudah-mudahan rakyat faham sudah. Okey sudah tu. Kalau
Okay.
tak pandai juga, dah apalah.
Nanti penonton-penonton yang baca yang tengok video ni boleh komen. Kalau ada soalan, komen saja, nanti kami addresskan dalam YouTube kah, dalam Facebook kah. Style saya macam tu, saya tak kumpul-kumpul orang, saya buat saja. Kalau tak, saya sendiri pun tak ada masa nak buat sebenarnya. Sebab
Okey, no worries. Nanti kita buat balik, kita kasih ramai lagi, insyaallah. That is the mission. Okay, thank you, Doc.
Okay, thank you, Iwan. Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Alright.
Thank you.
Bye.